It was a quiet evening. The stars were just beginning to appear in the sky, shining like silver dust over the rusty buildings of the outer human colony. Jace, a human mechanic, wiped oil from his hands and stepped out of his workshop. Another long day. Machines didn't fix themselves. As he closed his gate, he noticed something strange. A figure stood at the edge of his property. Not one, three. A tall, thin alien woman. She wore tattered cloth over her body. Her face was covered in dust and pain. In her arms she held two small children, one on each side. Their heads were buried in her shoulders. They looked weak and scared. Jace frowned. "You lost?" The woman took a shaky step forward. Her lips trembled. Her voice was soft. "Broken, please. My name is Zira. We have nowhere else to go." Jace didn't move. He had seen aliens before, but never like this. This one looked empty, not dangerous, just broken. "You running from something?" She nodded slowly. "From death." The little boy in her arms coughed harsh and dry. Jace's eyes moved to the child, then back to the mother. "You sick?" "No, just hungry, cold. We've walked many nights." His first thought was to send them away. This wasn't a hotel. He fixed engines, not people. But as he looked into the woman's golden eyes, he saw something that made him stop. Fear, pain, and something else. Hope. She didn't come here to steal. She didn't come to beg for coins. She came to ask for one thing: safety. "I don't have much," Jace said. "Just tools and a small room in the back." Her voice cracked. "That is more than we have now." Inside the metal gate, the room was small but warm. Jace gave them a corner, an old bed, a heater, and a blanket. He handed her a can of water and some food from his emergency box. Zira made no sound as she fed her children first. They ate slowly, carefully, as if they thought it would be taken away again. Jace watched quietly. The kids were small, maybe 5 or 6 years old in human years. Big eyes, thin arms, scars on their necks. "What happened to their father?" he asked. Zira paused, then whispered, "They took him. He was a fighter. He tried to protect us." She didn't say more, and Jace didn't ask. That night, Jace slept lightly. He was used to being alone, used to silence. But now he could hear soft breathing from the corner of the room. Once a child whimpered. Then Zira sang softly in a strange alien tongue. A lullaby. Gentle. Sad. The next morning, Jace found her sweeping his workshop floor with her hands. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I must repay your kindness," she replied. He gave a small shrug. "I didn't do much. You gave my children peace for one night. That is more than many have given us." Jace didn't know what to say. He handed her an old towel and nodded to the washroom. "There's water. Go clean up." She took the towel slowly, as if it were gold. Later that day, as he worked on a broken hoverbike, one of the children came near. A girl. She just stood there watching with wide eyes. "You like machines?" Jace asked. She nodded shyly. Jace smiled a little. "I'll teach you one day." She gave a small smile back. From across the yard, Zira watched them both. Tears ran down her face, but this time they were different. They were not tears of fear. They were tears of hope. But deep inside Jace's heart, questions still burned. Who was Zira really? Why did she choose his gate to stand in front of? And what danger might follow her here? He didn't know yet, but something told him this was only the beginning. The next morning came with a pale sun, cold wind, and silence. Jace woke up early, as always, ready to work. But today something felt different. There was life in his quiet workshop. A low whisper. A gentle hum. He found Zira in the kitchen corner, her hands over a hot plate, trying to warm old bread. Her 2 children still slept, curled under the blanket like small shadows. Zira looked up, eyes tired but "Come, I hope it is okay," she said softly. "I found your bread." "It's okay," Jace replied. "You need it more than I do." She gave a small nod. Then, after a pause, she added, "You asked last night. What happened to us?" Jace didn't push, but when she sat down on the floor, he knew she was ready to speak. "I was born on a world named Veltira," Zira began. "We lived near the sun lakes, where the ground glows in the dark." Jace imagined it. Alien skies and glowing waters. It sounded beautiful, but her voice didn't sound happy. "We were not poor," she continued. "We were not fighters. My husband was a music teacher. I worked in a sky garden. We had peace. Until war came." She looked toward her sleeping children. "They came in the night, ships with black wings. They did not care who we were. They just wanted land. Metal. Slaves." Jace felt his jaw tighten. "They took many. Burned the rest. We ran. We walked. Through ash fields and frozen skies. I carried the children on my back. We lost friends. We lost family." Her voice cracked now. "I lost him." "Your husband?" Jace asked. She nodded slowly. "He turned back to fight. He said, 'Keep running. Zira, don't stop.' I never saw him again." The workshop felt heavy with her words. Jace had heard many stories of war. He worked on machines built for it. But this wasn't war. This was survival. "You said the black ships took slaves?" "Yes," she whispered. "Some humans worked with them. Some tried to help. I didn't know which ones to trust, until I saw your eyes last night." Jace looked away, unsure what to say. He wasn't a hero. He was just a mechanic who didn't close his gate fast enough. Later, he saw her children wake. The boy, thin and quiet, stared at everything like it might attack him. The girl, braver now, walked around and touched his tools carefully. "She likes machines," Jace said. Zira smiled, tired. "Her name is Seely. She learns fast." "And the boy?" "Luro. He doesn't speak much since that night." Jace crouched and gently offered the boy a small cube, a power crystal. Luro blinked at it, then slowly took it with both hands. Jace gave a small grin. "Good grip." The day passed quietly. Zira helped clean. The children stayed close, like shadows that wouldn't leave her side. Jace tried not to care. But when he heard Zira humming softly while brushing dust from his old shelves, something in his chest moved. This wasn't just a guest in his home anymore. They were becoming part of it. At sunset, Jace looked outside. The wind picked up dust again. The sky turned orange and blue. A peaceful moment. But then, movement. A figure far away, near the hills. Someone was watching the workshop. He stepped outside and narrowed his eyes. The figure vanished. Jace felt a chill run through him. Someone had followed Zira here, and that meant trouble was close. Inside, Zira was putting the children to sleep. Her back was turned, her song low. Jace didn't tell her about the figure. Not yet. But he now knew something with full certainty. Zira wasn't just running from the past was chasing her. The heater buzzed softly in the corner of Jace's workshop. Zira sat on the floor brushing her daughter Sally's hair. The boy, Luro, played quietly with an old screwdriver. It was the first time Jace had seen him smile. But Jace's thoughts were elsewhere. He hadn't forgotten the figure near the hills. Someone was watching. And if Zira's story was true, they might not be friendly. He walked over and handed her a blanket. "It's getting cold tonight." Zira looked up, surprised. "You've given us so much already." "You're not asking for much," Jace replied. "Just shelter and quiet." She smiled gently. Shelter is not small. It is everything. That night, as the children slept, Zira sat across from Jace near the fire barrel in the workshop. Her eyes glowed faintly in the firelight, gold and soft like melted coins. "You're kind," she said. Jace gave a short laugh. "Some would say foolish." "Not foolish," she said softly. "Rare." There was silence between them. Then she whispered something unexpected. "I know what you must think. That I bring trouble. Jace stayed quiet. I know you saw someone outside. I saw two, she said. I thought maybe we had lost them. Jace looked at her, eyebrows raised. Who are they? Zira looked at the flames. Hunters. They take survivors. Sell them. I escaped once. They don't like that. Jace felt a weight settle in his chest. You need protection, he said. I need something more, she replied. He blinked. What do you mean? Zira took a long breath. Then she knelt, her hands pressed to the ground, her head bowed. I offer myself, she said quietly. Not for pity, but for safety, for peace, for my children. Jace stared. Zira, what are you doing? In my culture, she said, when we have nothing left, we give ourselves to one who has shown mercy. We ask not to be saved, but to belong. Jace felt his heart pound. Are you asking to stay here forever? I ask to become part of your home. If you accept me, I will be yours, your wife, in name, in duty. I will clean, cook, care, and protect your land as if it were mine. Jace stood in shock. He had taken in a stranger. Now she was offering herself as a wife? This isn't pity, she said. This is survival, but also, maybe more. He saw it in her eyes, not just fear, not just duty, but something slowly blooming. Trust. Jace helped her to her feet. Zira, you don't have to do this, but I want to, she said, not only for my children, but because, when you opened your gate, I saw a good man. And in this galaxy, good men are rare. He didn't answer for a long moment. Then he looked toward the sleeping children. They were safe. And so far, he was the only reason they were. You can stay, he said finally, as long as you need. But don't kneel. Stand with me. Zira's eyes filled with tears. This time they weren't from fear or sadness. They were from something warmer, something deeper. Outside the workshop on a far hill, the hidden figure tapped a device on his wrist. A red light blinked. Target located. The alien widow is alive. Prepare for retrieval. The sky was too quiet that morning. Birds didn't chirp. The wind didn't blow. Even the tools in Jace's workshop seemed to stay still. He felt it in his bones. Something was coming. Zira was feeding the children. Seely laughed softly as she tried to warm stale bread over a tiny flame. Luro sat silently in Zira's lap, holding Jace's old screwdriver like a toy. But Jace was watching the hills. Zira, he said quietly. How many men were hunting you? She looked up slowly. I don't know. Maybe 5, maybe more. They wear black. They don't speak much. Only kill. Jace's jaw tightened. He checked the sensor pad near his gate. Motion detected. Just outside the perimeter. Again. 3rd time. This week. They were getting closer. He spent the rest of the day welding metal sheets to the sides of the workshop. Zira helped without asking. She held up beams. She carried old wires. She never complained. You think they'll come tonight? She asked softly. I don't think, Jace replied. I know. That night, the wind returned, but it carried no peace. It carried footsteps. Zira woke first. She sat up in the corner of the workshop, clutching her children tightly. Her eyes darted toward the door. Jace was already up, holding a welding torch like a weapon. Then, a knock. 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 Slow. Loud. Heavy. Open the door, a voice called. We only want the alien. We know she's inside. Jace didn't move. The children began to cry. Step away from my home, Jace shouted. The voice outside laughed. It's not your fight, human. Give us the widow and we'll leave you breathing. Zira stood up behind Jace. They will kill you if you resist. Jace turned and looked into her eyes. No one dies tonight, he said. Not if I can stop it. Suddenly, bang! A blast hit the front gate. The metal shook. Jace pressed a button. His backup shield flickered to life. Energy barriers blocked the front door, but it would only hold for a little while. "We can escape." "Through the back," Zira said. "There's a tunnel under the workbench." "You knew this would happen?" Jace asked. "I prepared, just in case." Jace nodded. "Take the children. I'll slow them down." "No," she cried. "We run together." But it was too late. Boom! The shield cracked. Jace turned and shoved her toward the bench. "Go!" Zira grabbed her children and crawled through the hidden hatch. Jace followed, pulling the lid shut behind them. They crawled through darkness. Metal walls scraped their elbows. The tunnel was narrow, built for emergencies. Jace had never used it before. Now he thanked himself for building it. Sally whispered, "Mom, I'm scared." Zira kissed her head. "I know, little one, but we're going to be okay." At the far end of the tunnel, Jace pushed open a loose hatch that led into the canyon. Outside, stars filled the sky. The night was wide and cold. They were free, for now. From above, behind the workshop, fire began to rise. The hunters were burning it. "Everything you had?" Zira whispered. Jace looked at the fire. His tools, his home, his life, gone. Then he looked at her, and at the children, and he knew. He hadn't lost everything. He had chosen something greater. But the hunters were not done yet. One of them knelt by the ashes, scanning the ground. Tracks. He tapped his wrist. "They're not far." The canyon winds howled. Jace and Zira huddled behind a rocky ledge with the children, their backs against cold stone. The stars above looked peaceful, but danger still crawled beneath them. The children had cried themselves to sleep. Zira wrapped them in her shawl and held them close. Her arms trembled, not from the cold but from fear. And something else. Guilt. Jace sat beside her, eyes scanning the hills in the distance. He had lost everything, his home, his tools, his quiet life, all for a family he met just days ago. Still, he didn't regret it. Zira broke the silence. "You should have let them take me." Jace turned sharply. "Don't say that. They burned your life to ashes, and I would burn it again," Jace replied, "if it meant you and your children lived." She looked at him, really looked at him, and something changed in her. Expression. A kind of stillness. A decision. She reached into her cloth bundle and pulled out a small silver band, a thin, glowing ring carved with ancient alien symbols. Jace blinked. "What's that?" "In my people's custom," she said, "when a woman is widowed and saved by another, she may offer this." "Offer what?" Jace asked carefully. "Herself, her name, her bond." Jace stared. "Zira." She held out the ring. "I offer you my hand, Jace, not for safety, not for pity, but for something sacred. If you take this, you accept not only me, but Seelie and Luro as yours." Jace didn't speak. Zira added softly, "We would become your family." The wind picked up. Dust swirled around them, but Jace could still hear the sound of his own heartbeat. "You're asking me to marry you?" he said finally. "Yes," she said, "but not like humans do. This bond is deeper, forever, not by law, but by spirit." "Why now?" he asked. "You lost your home for us. You fought for us, and my children now sleep with peace. For the first time since their father died." She looked down. "I am not a perfect mate. I carry pain, I carry fear, but I also carry love. And if you take us, I will give you everything I have left." Jace slowly took the ring from her hand. He turned it over in his palm. The alien markings pulsed with faint warmth. His voice was low. "I never thought I'd have a family." "You have one now," she whispered. Suddenly, a crack echoed from the rocks above. Jace ducked. Zira pulled the children down, eyes wide. Beam of red light scorched a nearby stone. They had been found. The hunters were here. Jace gripped the ring tightly. He looked at Zira, then at the children, and finally at the weapon hidden beneath his coat. "If I take this bond," he said, "you're mine to protect, right?" Zira nodded. "Then I fight. Not for strangers, not for pity, for my family." He slipped the ring on his finger. The symbol glowed. Zira closed her eyes. A tear slid down her cheek. She wasn't a widow anymore. She was someone's wife. Again, above them the hunters closed in. But they would soon learn. This human didn't run. Not when he had something worth protecting. The night had no mercy. Lasers lit up the canyon walls like angry stars. Rocks shattered. Dust exploded. Every step Jace took could have been his last. But he didn't care anymore. Not after putting on that ring. Not after calling them his family. Zira crouched low, shielding the children behind a thick ridge. Her hands trembled, but her eyes stayed sharp, watching Jace run toward the edge of the cliff. He wasn't running away. He was setting a trap. The hunters were trained killers. Tall, armored, silent. They didn't speak unless ordered. They moved, like shadows with guns. They had no names, no mercy, and no fear, except maybe now. One of them paused. A small device in his glove blinked red, heat signature detected. Human male, armed, waiting. The leader gave a hand signal. 2 circled left. 1 moved forward. The 4th flanked from behind. They had chased aliens across stars, burned homes, caught mothers and children. Never failed. But tonight something was different. Jace crouched behind a jagged rock. His breathing was slow, steady. In his hands, he held an old human shock rifle, rusty but strong. He whispered to himself, "One shot, one chance. For Zira. For Seely. For Luro." Footsteps. Then, a shadow moved. Jace fired. Boom! A scream. 1 down. But the others were close. Zira heard the shot and held her children tighter. "Stay here," she told them. "No matter what happens, do not move." Sally's eyes filled with tears. "Is Papa going to die?" Zira blinked. "Papa?" The word struck her heart like lightning. She kissed Sally's forehead. "He won't die. He made a vow." Jace rolled across the sand as another blast flew past his head. The air burned. A hunter jumped down from a ledge above. They fought. Fists, elbows, steel. Jace's gun fell, useless now. The hunter's blade came down, but Jace grabbed a rock and slammed it into the helmet. Once, twice, again. Crack. The helmet split. The hunter fell. Jace stood over the body, gasping. 2 left, and only 1 man to stop them. Zira couldn't wait anymore. She rose and ran, leaving the children hidden behind. Her feet moved like the wind. Her heart beat like thunder. She found Jace bleeding from a cut on his shoulder. Another hunter stood nearby, weapon drawn. Zira screamed. The hunter turned, too late. Zira tackled him from behind. Her claws, long hidden, slashed through the air. The hunter roared and collapsed under her weight. Jace stared. "You have claws?" he asked, half laughing. "I'm still a mother," she said, panting. Only 1 hunter remained. The leader. He stood tall, at the canyon's edge, gun raised, eyes cold. "Step aside," he said. "Give me the alien woman." Jace stepped forward. "She's not just an alien, she's my wife," the hunter laughed. "Then you die with her." He pulled the trigger. Click. Nothing. Jace had rewired the power core before the fight. The gun was dead. Jace raised his own weapon. Bang. The leader dropped. Silence. The stars returned to the sky. The wind cooled. Zira ran to Jace and wrapped her arms around him. His blood was warm on her shirt. But he was alive. "You fought for me," she whispered. "No," Jace said, breathing heavy. "I fought for us." Behind them, the children ran from their hiding spot. "Papa," Saley shouted. Jace opened his arms. The family came together, scarred, breathless, but alive. A human, an alien mother, and two half-orphaned children, all held together by one promise, one bond, sealed in fire and blood. The battle was over, but the scars would remain, on the ground, in the air, and in their hearts. Jace stood on the canyon ridge, arms folded, staring at the ashes of his old life. His workshop was gone, his tools gone. The home he built with his own hands, now just smoke. But standing behind him was something he never thought he'd have. A family. Zira stepped beside him, her shawl wrapped around her shoulders, her hair blowing in the wind. Her face was tired but peaceful. The kind of peace that comes only after surviving the worst. Saley and Luro sat near a rock, building small shapes from the broken pieces of metal they found on the ground. They giggled. It was the first time Jace had heard true laughter in days. Maybe ever. Zira touched his arm gently. "You saved us." Jace shook his head. "You saved me." He turned to face her fully. "When I met you, I was just a man fixing machines, living day to day. I had no one. I wanted nothing. I expected less." Zira looked into his eyes. "And now I have a reason to fight, to wake up, to keep going." He paused, "And someone to hold at night." Zira's eyes filled with quiet tears, but this time they were not sad. They were soft, warm, like the light of distant stars. She smiled. "You took in a widow, a broken mother, with two scared children. You didn't just give us shelter, Jace. You gave us home." Jace took a small cloth from his pocket. Inside it was the silver bond ring Zira had given him. It still glowed, softly. He held it out, but this time not just to accept. He went down on one knee. Zira gasped. "I don't know your traditions," Jace said, "and I don't know what the stars say about this, but I do know this. I want to walk beside you, not as your savior, but as your partner, as your husband." Zira dropped to her knees too, not out of duty, but out of love. "I already chose you, Jace," she whispered, "long before you ever knew." Their hands met in the middle, and above them, the sky watched silently, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Time passed. Weeks turned to months. The ashes of the workshop were cleared. A new home was built. Smaller, simpler, but full of life. Luro began speaking again. Saley learned how to repair engines just like she always wanted. Zira grew stronger, so did Jace. They worked side by side, ate together, slept together, faced each new day like survivors of a shared war, closer because of it. Then one morning, Zira took Jace's hand and placed it gently over her stomach. He looked at her, confused. Then it hit him. Her smile said, "It all." They were no longer just a family made by chance, but one growing by love. Final line. And as two worlds became one under a sky full of stars, a once lonely human and a once broken widow wrote a new story, one not of war or pain, but of healing, hope, and love that crossed galaxies.